Alright, for today's Industry Insight, we're going to be talking about my thoughts on the mobile gaming market and what has kind of happened with its game design. A few years ago on Game Wisdom, I think this was before I started getting busy with the YouTube channel, I made a post on about my thoughts and feelings about why the mobile market was not going to last. And as I got around to the various mobile circles, people said I was nuts, I was wrong, it's going to thrive, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, as of last week, I finally got my hands on my own smartphone and finally had a chance to see things personally. And I am still not impressed. And I want to talk about why the mobile market has, at least for myself, really doesn't work in terms of its design and implementation. Now, as we've seen over the years, mobile games have certainly evolved, and there's no denying that. The original state when we were talking about like first generation popularity like Farmville and the like was built of course on pay or wait energy systems and so on. Since then the market has really gravitated towards gotcha and kind of gated progression around slot machines and loot box design. And of course, some of the old standbys, like there's still some energy games out there, ad based promotions, and all those little tactics that have become indicative of mobile games that traditional gamers will basically rant and rave over if it ever gets over onto the PC or console. And in a post I'm going to be having up on Game Wisdom, probably by the time this video goes up, I talk about the three areas why it's so disheartening to see this. And the first is with the design. Now, over here, hopefully you can see this a little bit. This is the game. Oh man, it's kind of hard to see because of the glare, but this is a game called Idle Heroes. This is one of many idle slash gotcha based games on the mobile side of things. I also play like Plants vs. Zombies 2, Fire Emblem Heroes, and a few others. And the reason why gotcha design has become really popular is that it's a way of disguising the monetization around gameplay. And we did a video about gotcha design in the past, but if you missed that or need a refresher, gotcha is the idea of you're using slot machines or RNG to basically give out rewards of various qualities. Most gotcha based games feature 1 to 5 stars for their heroes, monsters. Again, you name the kind of character, and there's probably a mobile game or free to play game around it. And what happens, of course, is that the higher the stars, the more powerful whatever it is. And it doesn't even stop there. Higher stars will also have characters who can gain more levels, they'll have more special skills. Generally speaking, more stars is pretty much 100% of the time better than something lower. But of course, how you get those is when things get very tricky, and why a lot of, or I should say the majority of the mobile market has embraced this kind of free to play design. Because you can certainly download any of these games for free. But if you want to make some progress, it's either going to cost money, or you better have a leprechaun's pot of gold of luck sitting beside you. Because what they do, of course, is that it's not just about one kind of loot box or one kind of roll of the slot machine. There are usually several. There's sometimes a low tier, a mid tier, there may be a super exclusive tier. There may, of course, be special events that you can roll to get unique monsters or whatever. And again, going back to what I said, the higher stars creatures will always be better. They will, of course, also have higher level caps or can equip better gear. So even if you have 5 fully leveled up 1-star monsters, they are going to be trounced by one level 5 or one 5-star monster that may not even be near its max level. But to get those, you are basically forced into RNG unless you want to spend money on exclusive packages, bundles, or even just being able to outright buy a 5-star whatever. And this is how the balance or lack thereof of these games are designed around. Because even if you are the best player in the world, it doesn't matter if you don't get access to a 5-star creature. And I'll just say 5-star creature to make it easier for me for the rest of this video. And it becomes a case, again, of the monetization superseding the gameplay. And that has always been a major part of free-to-play design, especially of the gacha variety. Because as we've said before, there's always been that push and pull between money and game content when it comes to free-to-play games. Too much gameplay, and no one spends any money, the game goes out of business. Too much on the monetization side, and no one can make any progress unless they spend money, and then they'll get tired and move on to another game. So designers have been figuring out all little manners and tricks to try and hide that kind of monetization, be in the form of daily quests, getting little rewards for logging in, friendship bonuses, maybe having a super rare dungeon or something higher up that can get you that stuff. But the idea, of course, is that the difference in progression is huge based on whether or not you get access to one 5-star creature or not. And the game that I showed you, the Idle Heroes, right now I have a party of all 4 stars. Which of course means that no matter how great I am still limited. But like we've talked about before with the concepts of scaling, these games will always go beyond that. Besides the 5-star, there are super exclusive summons that are either 6 stars or 5 ruby stars. And again, as long as there are numbers in the world, you can keep scaling up and up and up. And again, this kind of design just permeates a lot of the free-to-play games, except for some of the older style ones that may still rely on energy-based systems, and of course the ever popular, you can retry, but you either have to spend money or watch a 30-second ad. While I was playing Plants vs. Zombies 2, a McDonald's ad started playing for no reason whatsoever, and I wasn't even losing at that point. But the problem that I have with the design when it comes to mobile games is that no matter how you slice it, the monetization is always kind of like a tendril wrapped around the game design. And as someone who has studied so many games in the past, it's very easy to see these pools or see where things are going. Be it them saying, oh, you can buy this special thing, it will give you all this great advantages. I'm like, okay, but of course it costs premium currency. And speaking of which, that takes me to the second big problem, and that is the monetization. As we've talked about before, one of the biggest dangers when it comes to entering the game industry today, especially from the independent side, is the quote-unquote race to the bottom, or game devaluation. And the mobile side has been cited pretty frequently as being one of the chief causes. Because again, if I can pick up games on my smartphone for 99 cents or sometimes even free, why should I give a game developer $10, $20, $30 and so on? But now that I've had a chance to actually play these games, it's a far different story. And I want to load up, I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but I want to show you a few of the other games that I have on here. So 1 second there. It may be hard for you to see, but like I said, let me see if I turn it just right. We have like games like Zombie Nation, Fire Emblem Heroes, Idle Heroes, and so on. But in each one of these games, the monetization or the microtransactions are extreme. And it's quite frankly just insulting, I think, to the consumer to see this stuff. And I said this on the post, but I'll reiterate it here. I am very sorry for any indie developers or mobile developers watching this right now, but there is not one single game out there that will ever be worth like $100 to buy. Now, the only exceptions would be if we talk about games as a service with expansions and additional DLC. But every one of the games that I've played, and I'm sure you guys who have a smartphone can think of more, will always have like $40 microtransactions, $99, limited time bundles for $10, $14, and so on. But looking at this stuff, it's still not giving anything substantial in terms of game content. And that's one of the things that just really irks me. I could see spending $99 if it was something like the lifetime subscription to an MMO, where Frequently in the past, MMOs, I think like Star Trek Online, Lord of the Rings Online, and so on, had a mega purchase that if you bought that, basically your entire subscription is done. You never have to spend an additional cent. Sometimes they may give you a lifetime bundle for DLC or expansion so that no matter what happens, as long as the game's being supported, you keep getting free content. So that would be one example of things being worth it. But in most mobile games and free to play titles of this kind, the microtransactions never amount to anything substantial. They'll give you many different kinds of currency and maybe additional pools of a slot machine. But the problem is, that's not giving me something that I want. And that's the big difference between these kinds of free to play games and what we see traditionally when it comes to DLC. I know we've said this before, but when I buy DLC, I know how much I'm spending and I know exactly what I'm going to get from it. When I put down $99 or heaven forbid, like there's some like over $100 in some games, what am I getting? I'm getting premium currency. Well, what does that exactly mean? I may get an additional roll of a super rare summon. But again, that's not a guarantee. And going back to what I said a few minutes ago regarding the design and the gacha elements, every part of these games when it comes to gacha is built on percentages. In fact, what's very interesting is that they've changed it with Fire Emblem Heroes that they now are forced to show you the percentage chance. So when I played that, I played about 10 minutes of it until I got to the chance to run one of the gachas. And it showed the percentage chance. It's like, I think it was like 60% for like a 2-star, and it was like maybe 5% for a 5-star. But there's the point. Like I said, when it comes to gacha-based design, it's basically all or nothing. You get a 5-star hero or whatever early on, and that's going to probably carry you very well into the later parts of the game. But at a 5% chance to drop, again, you either have to be very lucky, or as the game implies, you have to spend a lot of money. And I, of course, for those of you who are older fans, know that brief summer I was hooked on Marvel Puzzle Quest, and the amazing horror it was trying to make progress without spending real money. And I know people who are defenders of this will say, well, it's optional. But it's optional in the same way as we've saw with free-to-play games on the PC, where the only way you're going to progress without spending money is maybe playing the game for 300 to 400 hours straight, and hopefully you get lucky along those fronts. But that's still not good game design. But with that said, the third point about why it is such a disheartening to see this is that these games feature really effective progression models. If you missed this week's Dissecting Design, I looked at the allure of the idle and clicker genre. Now, while the games on my phone feature idle gameplay or gacha design, it still is a very effective progression model, and it's still something that's worthy of being studied. One of the games I was playing, Summoner's Wars, is basically a light RPG, but with the gacha design of mixing and matching various creatures of star quality and so on. It has a pretty extensive PvP mode, apparently, from what they're saying. So the progression model works, and being able to offer all these varieties of getting through the game, additional rewards, and again, simply the fact of being able to categorize your unlocks using gacha is very effective. But that's the problem. It's very effective, which means it earns a lot of money. And that makes it all the more harder for games to stand out. Just as there's issues of devaluation when it comes to the PC side, there's also issues when it comes to the mobile. And this is one of the things I talked about in my original posts. Can anyone name me a very popular mobile game that's not featured already on the top 10 list on the iOS store? Chances are most of you can't, and that's a big problem. The mobile market is very lucrative for the games that have made it to the top and have basically secured their place. Games like Clash of Clans, Kim Kardashian's Hollywood, Angry Birds, and probably a few more that I haven't had a chance to play, they're not going to run out of money anytime soon. But what about someone brand new trying to enter the market? it is very hard for your game to be able to work like that unless it's designed extensively for it. And we have talked about this before, and I've had a chance to talk to developers who have had to basically cross that border, either going from mobile to PC or PC to mobile. And it is a very tough market to crack into, unless, of course, you are already a well established developer. But therein lies the problem and why myself and a lot of core gamers really don't have interest when it comes to mobile gaming. Because any good design and good progression models that we see are always going to be held down by the monetization. And it's not going to change because it has been proven successful. Again, the way developers and mobile social people will call people whales has become such a major part of it. And it works, and that's the part that really gets on my nerves. Every time I see on Gamma Sutra some new design piece about most effective ways to get people to buy into your game, or ad-based marketing or ad-based promotions, is it the way of the future? Every time I see that, I get a sharp pain in my chest because I know that this works despite how bad it is for the game and the market as a whole. And there is a greater talk to be had about the parallels between this and gambling. But we are about 16 minutes in, and I could probably spend another 10 to 15 minutes on it. But to quickly wrap up, the mobile market has certainly embraced these kinds of gambling hooks. Again, always dangling another carrot on the stick, trying to get you to spend more money. One of the games I've played actually has gamified spending money. The more money you put into the game, you get VIP levels that reward you with additional bonuses. And it's just all wrapped around the same kind of hooks and pulls that Las Vegas casinos use. And it's why a lot of people are not fans of mobile games. Because for a lot of them, even the best games, or the ones that have the most gameplay value to them, still have elements of gambling. And the whole loot box and gacha design is, I think, only going to get worse from here. So for those of you watching, can you think of great mobile games that have managed to avoid this trend? And that actually reminds me of one last point. About a week or so ago, I made a video here saying that I'm opening up submissions for mobile games to look at here on the Game Wisdom channel. But I explicitly said in that I want high quality games. So no heavy monetization, no unethical practices or that kind of skeezy stuff to get people to spend money. And now that I think about it, and after looking at the iOS store, I think the Google Play Store on there, I am going to be very surprised if I get anywhere near 10 quality examples for me to look at. So, who knows what's going to happen there. But to end things on, my opinion of the mobile market and mobile games sadly has not changed, and I think it's probably going to get worse. I just don't see things as being sustainable in the long run. Again, people will point out to the games that are making millions upon millions of dollars. But my question, and what I'll end today's video on, is what about the games that aren't the big names? How are they doing? But with that said, hope you enjoyed today's industry insight. I hope this is an industry insight. I'm still not 100% sure. But if you are new, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. But until next time, have a great night. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and come back nightly around 10 Eastern for regular game streams. For a collection of my writings as well as weekly podcasts on game design topics, be sure to check out game-wisdom.com. You can follow me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates from me throughout the day. And be sure to check out our Patreon campaign. You can find us on Patreon under GW Bycer for ways to not only support Game Wisdom, but you can get access to our Discord channel where we'll talk game design topics, as well as allow you to vote for our Saturday night grab bag stream. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the next video here on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel.